Welcome to PseudoPod, the weekly horror podcast. We're here to scare and entertain you, so if we're only scaring you, then please bail out the episode. We won't mind, and another one will be along next week, promise. PseudoPod, episode 999. That's right, October 24th, 2025. This week's story, Barghest, by Susan King. Narrated for you by Louise Hewitt. Hosted by Alasdair Stuart, and with audio by Chelsea Davis. Welcome to PseudoPod, the weekly horror podcast. I'm Alasdair, your host, and this week's story was first published in Modern Folklore, a Comma Press course anthology, in August 2025. Author Susan King says Comma Press is an indie publisher based in Manchester, UK. As a publisher, they regularly operate short fiction courses for the public, which each result in attendees' best work being published in an ebook. For Modern Folklore, the course leader and anthology editor, Matt Wesolowski, worked with their attendees, from seasoned writers to complete beginners, to develop a narrative throughline. In this case, the fictional town of Aberstow, as a staging area for 12 unique, brand new and unsettling tales of modern folk writing. Me again. That is so cool. Also, if you haven't heard or read them yet, Wesolowski's 6 Stories series is one of the very few pieces of podcast-adjacent fiction that really works for me. Susan King was born in Merseyside and now lives in County Durham. She has won numerous awards, including the Women Writers Network Award, the London Writers' Competition, and the Southampton Writers' Conference Prize. She was one of 12 finalists in the London Independent Story Prize in 2022, shortlisted in the New to the Scene Flash Fiction 2025 competition as well. She is currently on the shortlist for the Bridport Short Story Competition 2025. Her short stories have been published online, in women's magazines, and featured in 2 anthologies by the Women's Press. Her debut YA fantasy novel is doing the rounds of agents and publishers. At present, she is working on a crime novel set in the northeast of England. Narrator Louise Hewitt, she/they, is enthusiastic about stories in all their forms. She is an advertising copywriter by day, a reader of bedtime stories in the evenings, and a D&D dwarf cleric at the weekends, which, as we all know, is the best type of cleric. Lou to her friends, she enjoys cooking up a storm, riding her bike in the rain, feeding ducks, doing yoga, and attempting to meditate. Her favourite stories are about dragons, but pirates and sea serpents are also pretty good. She lives in London, UK, with her partner, her child on alternate weeks, and a very large ginger cat. So check your photos, check your footprints, and do not go to the woods alone. The truth is there, but it won't stay there forever.
Barghest, by Susan King. Narrated by Louise Hewitt. I'm reaching for the scissors when the lamp bulb flickers and dies. Cursing, I use the torch on my phone to push through the stacks of unpacked boxes. I flick the light switch. Nothing happens. I have no idea where the fuse box is. Next door's dog is barking like crazy. Maybe it's a power cut. I weave my way to the window and open the curtains. Lights blaze from every house in the street. Before I can search for the circuit box, the sound of sobbing comes from upstairs. Willa is sitting up in bed, her wolfsbane blue eyes red and puffy, her cheeks wet. She's taking great gulps of air, her arms wrapped around her chest. A cold breeze blows through the open window. Shivering in my t-shirt and jeans, I pull it closed. "It's all right," I say. "It's just a blown fuse." I lay my mobile on her bedside table and hold her, her body still heaving. "Did you have a nightmare?" "I was in the woods at night. There's this boy lying on the ground." She takes a deep breath. Tears and snot mingle and run down her chin. I give her a tissue from the packet by her bed. She blows her nose. "That's all over now. That's why we moved, remember? You're safe here." "There was blood everywhere. All over my hands and my clothes. There was sound behind me. It was horrible, like a..." Something hits the window pane with a thud. A black shape falls out of view. "What was that?" says Willa. "Just a bird, poor thing." "It was more likely a bat. but Willa doesn't need to know that. An owl hoots in the distance. I hate it here, Mum. You just need time to settle. You'll make new friends, you'll see. I stroke her hair. I'll stay with you until morning. Now go to sleep. Her sobs subside, and she closes her eyes. Her breath slows and deepens. Moments later, the house lights come on. Alasdair Primary is only a 15-minute walk from our house. Willa stays silent all the way. She answers my attempts to chat with a shrug, a fine, or whatever, so I give up. The school is on the opposite side of town to Murrell Woods, so at least she won't be reminded of her nightmare. The bell is ringing when we reach the gates. We can go to Collier's Park after school if you'd like. Maybe take a boat out on the lake? Okay, she says, as if I've suggested a trip to the dentist. I kiss her goodbye and watch her follow the children heading indoors. She lingers at the entrance. A ghost of a memory invades me. I shiver despite the warm spring weather. She'd stood like this at her previous school, her eyes downcast as if she had to cross an invisible barrier. It was the day I discovered what was taking place inside. It can't be happening again, not in sleepy Alasdair. Then Willa disappears through the door. I'm about to set off home when I see something lying on the ground. It's the little angry bird Willa clips to her backpack. When I bend to pick it up, I see a cockroach scuttle across the tarmac, through the gate and towards the school. I'm approaching my house, deep in thought, when I realise someone is calling my name. The woman standing in next door's garden is in her 60s, greying hair falling past her shoulders, her face as weather-beaten as an old barn. The dirty white terrier behind her is growling, his hackles raised. "It's Elodie, isn't it?" she says. "Such an unusual name. I hope I've got it right." "Yes. I'm Sybil. Are you settling in okay?" "Yes, thank you," I say, ready to move on. "I've got a parcel for you. Amazon called while you were out." I expect her to fetch it. Instead, she says, "Look, I've just put the kettle on. Why don't you come in for coffee?" "I'm sorry, I've got so much to do. I'm sure you can spare a few minutes." I give in, open the gate and step into the overgrown garden. The terrier rushes at me, snarling and snapping at my ankles like a demon on speed. I drop Willa's angry bird. The dog picks it up, tearing at it till it's nothing but a scattering of shreds. "What on earth's the matter, Barney?" Sybil says, grabbing him by the collar. "I'm so sorry." She drags him toward the house. "I don't know what's got into him." It's difficult to find a place to sit in the cluttered living room. In the end, I move a pile of newspapers from one of the chairs. A damp, musty smell rises from the seat cushion. Sybil hands me a mug of instant coffee, the rim retaining a smear of red lipstick. Barney is locked in the kitchen. His growls a background grumble to our conversation. "I've got a confession to make," Sybil says. "When I saw your name on the parcel, I Googled you. I hope you don't mind." I do, but she doesn't give me time to answer before she goes on. "I must say I was surprised to see how famous you are." "Oh, I wouldn't say that." I put my untouched coffee in the tiny space between the rows of empty milk bottles on the table. "But your exhibitions have received very good reviews in the Telegraph. I kept the clippings somewhere." She looks around as if expecting them to suddenly appear. "They are a bit dark, though, your paintings," she continues. "Gives me the shivers." She dunks a chocolate digestive into her drink. "Would you like one?" She holds out the packet. "I'm fine, thanks." I wonder how long before I can politely leave. My leg is itching as if something's biting me. "I can't believe what happened at your daughter's school. Willow, isn't it?" "Willa." "It all came up with your name, that poor boy going missing, and his body found on Hampstead Heath in the woodland, wasn't it?" I've had enough. The last thing Willa needs is to have her past gossiped about. Rude or not, I'm about to make my excuses when she leans forward, lizard-like in her green mottled dress. "Have you heard of the Barghest?" "The Barghest?" "It's all over social media. My granddaughter told me. She lives near Epping Forest and is terrified to go out after dark. I'm sorry, but there are thousands of posts. They say it lives in the woods, that it's like a bear but with a wolf's head. Her tongue slips through her lips and licks away the melted chocolate. Blurred photos have been uploaded by those who swear they've seen it. They say it killed that boy on Hampstead Heath, tore his throat out if the rumours are to be believed. There's an excited glint in her winter grey eyes. Look, I say, standing up. I must get home. If I could have my parcel? Of course. She walks into the dark hallway and hands me an Amazon package. She puts an arm on mine, her fingernails like talons biting into my bare skin. Elodie, I didn't mean to upset you. I wanted to reassure you that Willa is perfectly safe here. There's no beast lurking in Murrell Woods. Nothing dangerous ever happens in Alasdair. My studio is at the back of the house where it gets light all day. I check the tubes of acrylic paint Amazon has sent me against the painting on my easel. Satisfied, I work on the woodland floor. As I lose myself amongst the trees, the smell of decaying leaves rises from the canvas like the odour of a freshly dug grave. Tree roots snake through the undergrowth like ossified serpents. Destroying angels rise like phantoms from the underworld as their white caps push through the debris. I've almost captured the feeling of melancholy that woodland gives me. Almost, but not quite. I'll need to make another visit to Murrell Woods. My alarm makes me jump. It's time to collect Willa from school. As I draw the dust sheet over my painting, I notice something odd. Between two oaks is a fuzzy black shape. I can't make out what it is. And I have no memory of painting it. I stand apart from the other mothers at the school gate and mull over the image in my painting. Before we left London, I'd started sleepwalking. I'd come down in the morning to find a half-eaten sandwich or a cold cup of tea. Once I found a trail of blood spots on the floor. But whatever I did in that trance-like state didn't include messing with my work. I'd put it down to worry about Willa and what was going on at her school, but I found no signs of night wandering since we moved to Alasdair. But maybe it started again. Only this time I'm picking up a paintbrush. This is not good. I earn my living from my work. I have to control what I do. The children begin to stream across the playground. I stop thinking about my painting and turn my thoughts to this Barghest legend. Should I talk to Willa about it? Perhaps this is what's fueling her nightmares. The schoolyard is empty, and most of the parents have gone when Willa comes out reading a book. No one could say my daughter is pretty. Her thick bifocals don't help, and neither does her stutter, which kicks in when she's with others. A girl follows her out, her skirt hiked up to just below her bottom. She's wearing a yellow baseball cap, her long blonde plaits falling past her shoulders. Yellowcap calls out, Willa, what are you reading? So, I was right to worry. It is happening again. I want to step forward, take the stupid child by her shoulders and shake her, but I daren't. Willa would never forgive me. I've made the mistake of meeting the headmistress at her last school when I found out she was being bullied. Instead of solving the problem, it just got worse. Yellowcap runs to my daughter's side. She grabs Willa's book, drops it into a puddle and stamps on it. Sorry, she says. Even from here, I can see the tears well up in Willa's eyes. Poor Willa, says the girl. Are you crying? Do you want your mummy? I look at the woman standing nearby. She's scrolling on her phone. I wait until Yellowcap walks out the gate, a smirk on her innocent-looking face, and stick my foot out. She falls hard and fast, yelling loud enough to wake those lying in Alasdair Cemetery. Her mother looks up from her mobile and runs over. I take hold of Willa's hand. The mud's slippery by the gate, I say to her. You should warn your daughter. Willa doesn't want to go to the park, so we come straight home. She stops at Sybil's gate. The scraps of her Angry Bird lie shredded among the thistles. Is that... I'm sorry. Sybil's dog destroyed it. I'll get you another one. I hate it here, she says. She storms into our house and disappears into her bedroom. Nothing I say to Willa at dinner lightens her mood. As soon as she's finished eating, she returns upstairs. I decide this is not the best time to tackle her about the bullying or the Barghest. So I go to my studio. But it's impossible to concentrate on my work with Barney barking as if the devil has come for him. The April light is fading, so I give up. I'll take a walk in Merrill Woods and see if I can find some inspiration. I shout upstairs to tell Willa I'll be back within the hour. She doesn't answer, so I guess she's got her headphones on. As I open the front door, I realise how quiet it is. Barney hasn't made a sound. The gloaming is my favourite time of day. The only sounds are the crunching of dead leaves underfoot and a woodpecker tapping against the bark. Ivy cloaks tree trunks, crawling along branches like a shapeshifter, turning ancient oaks into scaled green spectres. Fear of the Barghest, or the lure of video games, is letting me walk the path alone. My mind empties and my shoulders loosen. My eyes absorb the dying light that creeps through the canopy. I wonder how I can create this in paint when I see something a few metres ahead of me, something that shouldn't be there. I stop. My body urges me to turn around. The last of the sun sinks behind the trees, the air turning cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. I walk on. Dead eyes stare out of the dirty red and white heap lying on the ground, like some travesty of a child's soft toy. A dog with its throat ripped out. Barney. Willa is reading Pullman's Northern Lights in bed when I go to say goodnight. She's read the trilogy twice already. Maybe she wishes she was strong and fearless like Lyra. I wonder which book the girl in the yellow cap had thrown into the puddle. I will have to do something about her. I just don't know what. Yet. Are you all right? I ask. A strong wind has blown up, rattling the window frames. I draw the curtains and shut out the waning moon. She shrugs without raising her eyes. You know, I saw what happened in the playground. Mum, don't. She puts her book down. Don't what? Do anything. I can deal with it. Carried on a gust of wind comes a high-pitched scream. Then another. What was that? Willa says, her eyes wide. It's just a fox. Nothing to be frightened of. Are you sure? 100%. She doesn't look convinced. Can I leave the light on tonight? Yes, but don't stay up too late. I kiss her cheek. We'll talk some more tomorrow. Just leave things alone, Mum, she says, returning to the page. Downstairs, I pour a glass of Pinot Noir. Drinking calms me. It got me through those last few months before we moved. Worry about Willa had grown to near panic when the boy in her class died on Hampstead Heath. The warmth of the alcohol spreads through me. My shoulders relax as the image of Barney fades. Maybe he'd got into a fight with another dog and the owner didn't hang around to face the blame. Half an hour and half a bottle later, I lift the dust sheet on my painting. The dark form is no clearer. It looks like it might be an animal, although not one I can recognise. But it's grown. Now half the height of the oak trunk it's standing next to. There's something new though. Something that makes me drop my glass, my heart pounding, my legs weak beneath me. The red wine creeps across the white rug, creating a mirror image of the ravaged dog at the feet of the beast. I know it wasn't there when I left for Merrill Woods. I check my watch. It's a lot later than I thought. Have I really been home for more than 3 hours? Did I fall asleep before saying goodnight to Willa? Maybe I have started sleepwalking again, this time with a paintbrush in my hand. Outside, Sybil is calling for Barney. Sybil and her damn tale of the Barghest. It's wormed its way into my head and into my painting. I leave the stained rug and return to the living room. I open one of the packing boxes, pull out a bottle of whiskey, fill a glass and swallow the amber liquid in one gulp. The wind is still yowling outside, but rain is now thrumming on the window, streaming down as if a devilish god is sobbing for past deeds. I'm on my second glass when the lights go out. Damn, I never got round to finding the fuse box. With a feeling of déjà vu, I switch on my phone's torch and make my way upstairs. I stumble on one of the steps. Maybe the whiskey was a bad idea. Willow has only seen me drunk once, and it frightened her. I have to keep control of myself. Willow's door is closed, but a cold draught is seeping underneath it. I turn the handle and push, but it's like someone's pushing back. "Willow, it's Mum!" I shout. "Let me in!" The pressure doesn't ease. Shoving it hard, I manage to force it open. The scream that rises in my throat is swallowed by the raging gale. At once, I'm fully sober. The bed is empty and the sash window open, curtains billowing and twisting like crazed creatures trying to escape their bindings. The wardrobe. When she was little and frightened of storms, that's where she'd hide, curled up with her eyes closed. I fling open the double doors and shine the torch on the floor. There's nothing but shoes. My head is a maelstrom of possibilities, none of them good. Lightning flashes, turning the sky from night to day and back to night. First, I need to search the house. Second, and I pray it doesn't come to second, call the police. I turn towards the door when a noise from behind spins me around. Shape is climbing through the window, huge and dark. Back away, blood pounding in my ears. My fingers reach for the door handle as the creature lands on the floor. I'm ready to run when I stop, disbelief flooding through me. The beast is staring at me with large wolfsbane blue eyes. Eyes more familiar to me than my own. I watch as it turns away and climbs into Willow's bed. I stand transfixed as it shrinks. Its snout shortens and its fur disappears. Moments later, my daughter is lying asleep, her hair wet, her book by her side. The house lights flash on. My eyes travel to something on the carpet. As quietly as I can, I close the window and pick up the yellow bloodstained baseball cap. Willow moans and turns on her side, her arm outside the quilt. There's something in her hand, a tuft of dirty white fur. I ease it from her and put it in my pocket. I leave the room and close the bedroom door. As I walk down the stairs, I begin to plan for tomorrow.
Hill says, the idea for Barghest came from reading legends surrounding the existence of mythical black dogs. These were supernatural, ghost-like or demonic hellhounds. When I discovered that the legend of one of these creatures, the Barghest, was specific to Northern English folklore, including County Durham, where I live, I was hooked. The Barghest was believed to be a monstrous black dog with huge eyes, teeth and claws. Witnessing it would be a certain omen of death. I wanted to bring the Barghest legend into a modern tale. Folklore was often, and at times still is, used as a warning to children. Go to sleep or the boogeyman will get you. Don't go into the woods at night or the goblins will eat you. I wanted my modern day Barghest to be an avenger, to punish children who misbehaved, especially bullies, and I wanted to make it personal to the mother and the daughter in the story. I hope I've succeeded. Me again. And yes, definitely succeeded. What I love about this story is the gradual way that we are led, literally and metaphorically, down a dark and winding path. It starts with the cockroach, and with the conflict the cockroach and the angry bird tchotchke represent. Something old, something impossible to kill, something new, contemporary, fragile, like peace, like hope, like innocence. But is it? 1,000 stories about dumps of old Batman movie merchandise and the landfill the E.T. video game was recovered from spring to mind as King guides this descent into the dark with all the care of a hunter baiting a trap. The presence of the Barghest in the art is a great example of this, and it means so many things depending on where you stand. It's the intrusion of one life into another. It's the embodiment of the borderlands the story exists on, forcing themselves into view. It is a crest flared in warning. It's the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot footage. It is delightfully just a hint of M.R. James' mezzotint. Something dark is approaching, because something dark has seen us. But what we see as a warning could be read another way. Not the advance of an implacable predator, but an animal, cautious, but recognizing someone it knows, edging slowly forward, desperate for connection and to break the shackles of adolescence, of expectation, of a new town, and the resentment that grows like weeds and chokes us all. And then there is the single line, spoken clearly and thrown like a punch. I hate it here. A warning, an excuse, a justification. It doesn't matter. The Barghest as a reaction, as armor, is the last thing I expected, but isn't that the exact tragedy here? The teenage girl who is seen but not heard. The child is driven along by their parents reacting the only way they can, and when you are no longer where the wild things are, don't you need to be a wild thing yourself? Great work. Thanks all. We just rolled out ads. Don't worry, no mid-roll. Not done it yet, never going to do it. But we are doing ads at the top and bottom of each show. Now that also means that we have an ad-free tier now on our Patreon. That costs $7 a month, and that gives you access to all our feeds ad-free. And when I say all, I mean all. Those ad-free feeds go all the way back to episode 1. So, if you want to go ad-free, and you can support us, please go to our Patreon and sign up and maybe indulge in a little podcast time travel. If you can't subscribe, we still need and welcome one-time donations. Regardless of whether you do that or subscribe, you are giving us more than just money. You're giving us stability, reliability, dependability, the chance to plan ahead, and on occasion to buy replacement salt for the protection circles, all of which is vital. And I joke about this because we always have to when we ask for donations, but the honest truth is that even with the ads, we wouldn't be here without the donations. We wouldn't be here without you. The ads aren't a replacement. Think of them as an extra engine. So if you can donate or subscribe, please do. And if you can't, we understand completely. Times are hard. So perhaps in that instance, you could talk about an episode that you really liked on social media, or review something, or interview us. We love doing that kind of stuff. We're chatty, you might have noticed. So if you can, please go to PseudoPod.org and sign up by clicking on Feed the Pod. If you have any questions about how to support EA and ways to give, and that includes good ideas that we might not have had, please reach out to us at donations@escapeartists.net. Oh, also, we now have a Blue Sky account, and we'd love to see you over there. Find us at PseudoPod.org. And if you like merch, you can also support us by buying hoodies, t-shirts, and other bits and pieces from the Escape Artists Void merch store. The link is in various places, including our pinned tweet over on Blue Sky. PseudoPod is part of the Escape Artists Foundation, a 501c3 non-profit. This episode is distributed under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Download and listen to the episode on any device you like. Download us on a potato if you can, and if you can, show us how, but don't change it or sell it. Theme music is by permission of Anders Manga. Join us next week for episode 1000, and a salute to our incredible editor, Mr. Sean Garrett, who is standing down with that triple-digit, 000 epic victory. We will see you then. But before we do, PseudoPod wants you to remember the words of Liz Braswell in Science Fiction and Fantasy, Folk Horror's Subtle Chills. Unlike tales of body-snatching aliens or hell-raising demons, the charm of folk horror is that it sidles up to the almost believable. Our suspension of disbelief is extended further than usual with historic settings, real locations, and the universal terror of isolation and uncontrolled nature. Well-written folk horror bridges the gap between myth and modernity with eerie familiarity. It could or did, happen here. We'll see you next time, folks. Have fun.